This is Kieran with my co-host,
Rogan.
and this is episode 5 of the Dragonbone Tavern podcast, and we are continuing on with our Assassin's Creed series, with Assassin's Creed 2. But to really sum up real quick, not much has happened in the works of our website. I kind of took a week off because I'm killing myself with the project. So that'll probably resume next week with some updates on that. And a quick note, we're going to keep doing this. It may probably get annoying, but go check out SirDog33 if you haven't checked him out. That is still in our episode notes for this week, last week, and we're going to keep probably saying this for quite a while. And this is kind of going to bring us in a little quickly to our game spotlight. We're actually doing a game this week again, like we did last week. And I want to talk a little bit about Witcher. If you haven't played this game, it is an amazing game. Not only is it visually stunning, but it's a really fun game. You take the role of Geralt, a Witcher who is a monster hunter. And you go around killing monsters, and you're also trying to unravel this plot of what's going on behind the scenes, because some people actually stole from you and other Witchers. Now, mind you, there's also a little bit more to it, because Geralt is actually a very famous Witcher, but before the game starts, he loses his memory. You don't really know what happened, and I don't know if you ever actually learned that in the game. From what I know, you don't, because that is still part of Witcher 2, which, if you've been watching TV lately, is now officially out for Xbox. The first Witcher, sadly enough, is not, so you would have to buy that for PC, but it is also out for Mac. But the game, all in all, is really fun. The only thing that you have to be careful of is what you say to people, because you can screw yourself over just by what you say. And if you don't make the right choices in your dialogue, you can make people pretty mad at you. And then you eventually have to go back. The only other really thing that bugs me about this game that I'm going to make a comment about is the fact that it does not save on its own. You have to go and save. It only auto-saves when something big happens. But you'll be finding yourself needing to save more often than when it actually tries to save. I do not recommend, even if you are a veteran game player, to start playing this game on its most difficult setting, because it will kick your butt very thoroughly. I've played through it almost probably a good third of the way through the game, and I restarted recently, and it still is kicking my butt. But game is really fun, a good challenge if you're into that. If you're not into challenges, I don't recommend it at all. But the storyline's nice and solid, so check it out. And if you need to actually find it, the only way I know actually how to get it is through Direct to Drive. It is a harder game to find because it is a little bit older, but it's worth the time and money to get it and play it. We're going to roll right on through if Roken has no comments.
No comments. I have not played Witcher.
Okay. Any comments about what I just said about it?
No, I have none.
Okay. So, now to Assassin's Creed 2. And for a lot of people have played this game, from what I know. I've heard of all kinds of people playing this game. It is a very great game. It's a very great point from where they end the first one to pick up. You start off as Desmond, and you are actually taken out of the facility that you were in during the first one, if you remember what we were talking about last week. and you are actually taken by the modern day assassins now, and they have their own version of the Animus. And now you get to play, when you're in the Animus, a new character named Ezio. He is an assassin in the Renaissance era Florence. And you really, at first, he isn't an assassin, he's just a free runner, a kid. So you do get the kind of free running controls that you did in the last one. And throughout the game, he progresses as an assassin, as Desmond actually is learning how to become an assassin through the Animus. And there's also some more things going on with these things known as codex pages. And they are a map that leads to a vault, which I'm not going to say much more about that because it does kind of ruin the end game if you do know what happens. But this is what they're actually looking for and what's in this vault. I will tell you, at the end of the game, Ezio does get into the vault. This is in the Animus, you get to see what's in the vault. And it's pretty kind of a trippy thing what actually happens. So, really, if you want to know, try the game out. It is worth it. For that respect, just knowing what's going on. And so, at that point, we'll go into actually the mechanics and the rest of the game. Overall, the game is very solid story, like its predecessor, and they have added even more features to this game. They added the bombs, which I don't think were actually in one. You can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but one of the new things that I do know for a fact is new is they add a pistol, which the pistol adds a whole bunch of a nice long range that does a lot more damage than any other that you've ever used in the first one. But it does take a little bit longer to aim a pistol than it would to just throw a knife. So it has its drawbacks because it is still an older type pistol, one of the first. But you also get the dual hidden blades. So when you want to sneakily stab someone, you can now stab two people. Though generally, Ezio doesn't do it sneakily. He stabs them in the face. But it is an instant kill, and lots of nice things. And honestly, I'd have to say, in this one, I did like the training a little bit better than in the first one. You get a nice, more well-rounded training. And this game, honestly, probably could stand on its own if you leave out the parts with Desmond. And you really wouldn't get the whole picture from just playing 2, but you would get a good picture, because a lot of the stuff about the Apple of Eden, like we talked about last week, does come into play during the second game. But a little bit more about the storyline, and this more comes into play in Brotherhood, if I remember correctly. You are actually fighting the Catholic leaders in Florence, which I don't know if there was some big scandal that came out recently, but this was at the time of the Pope Borgia, and from what I've noticed, a lot of things have been turning up about him and basically how dirty he was as a pope, that he really didn't do things because he was
Might I
the way
interject?
of God. Yes.
For people who are thinking like me, he doesn't mean dirty as in sexual. He does mean dirty as in corrupt in politics.
Yes, that is what I mean. If there was any confusion there, I'm sorry. But that is the kind of character, because one of the Borgias is one of the main villains. If you didn't want to know that, I'm sorry. This podcast is horribly filled with spoilers. If you don't want to know much about storylines, you can probably skip the beginning section of where we talk. Later, we might not talk so much about storylines in certain games, but in these games, the storyline heavily drives the Assassin's Creed games and is very important to what's going on. But there aren't very many new mechanics. It's morely based on the storyline. You still have your eagle vision from the previous game, and you still have the similar free running. You do get a little bit of new tricks with the free running, but nothing too special. Mainly just to get certain places easier than you would have before. And though this game is mainly focused around Ezio instead of Altair does make an appearance at one point. Though I'm not going to tell you when or why, because it is a very, very interesting part of the story of what's actually happening, and it is something happening to Desmond. So, is there anything that I didn't cover about new things that weren't in 1 from what you remember, Roken?
I can remember very little of Assassin's Creed 1 or 2, to be fully honest.
Okay. And he'll be a little bit more active when we talk about Revelations and Brotherhood, which, as a side note, do not skip to 2 at all to go into Brotherhood or Revelation, because if you skip 2, you will kind of lose out of who Ezio is, and he is still the character in Brotherhood and Revelations. Though you probably could have skipped 1 because there isn't that much, it's still kind of important to play this one to get what's going on in the next ones. And you start, if I remember correctly, there's a bit more going on with Desmond in the later games, isn't there?
Yes. Yes, there are.
Which, to know about what's going on, you really should play these games in order. But I'm not going to say you have to. You should play the first one before you play Brotherhood and Revelations, but you do not have to play it before you play 2. Though it will lose you at certain points, and you'll probably start asking questions. But as for any really down points to 2, again, they're not really down points, they're just things that were meant to happen. Really, the way it ends again really kind of abruptly of what's going on. And you can actually, an interesting thing that I don't remember if you could do in 1, but you can do it in 2. When you finish 2, you can keep playing to finish all the secrets, the hidden parts of the game. And a fun side fact about 2, you can actually get, for Ezio in the Animus, you can get Altair's armor. It is the best possible armor you can get in the game, and I probably spent a good 10 hours trying to find that armor. Because you have to find seals to get to it. Because you actually know where the armor is, but it's locked away. So you have to find these key things. And it's just a little bit of good fun to play around. You don't actually need it for the rest of the game. You can go through and never have gotten it, but it does help you out in the last little part of the game because it does give you the highest amount of life. And just on a side note, just because we like these games does not mean we are anti-Christian, anti-God, or anything of that nature.
I might add something.
Yes. Yeah.
The opening of most of the Assassin's Creed, I'm not sure about the first and second ones, but they do have a disclaimer that the game was created by everyone of different cultural backgrounds and beliefs. It is in no way to subject or discriminate against any religion, social class, anything.
Yeah, which I'm going to go on to that a little bit. they do bring in almost every religion into part of the second one, so you can literally take away the fact that, in the first one they talk about the apple bringing out, that Christ it really didn't happen, and Mohammed didn't really happen, and all this stuff was all just an illusion or something to that effect. It's just more of a what if. So please do not berate us that, we're horrible people because we like these games. Both Roken and I go to church. We are both, if you have a problem with us saying this, we are both Christian.
Please leave me out of that category. I have no set religion.
Okay, well, he went to church at one point. But the point of the matter is we don't bring religion into what games we like and what we talk about. So please don't try to cram it down our throats that we're horrible people. That is my disclaimer for the podcast, and hopefully forever. I never will want to do that again. But, and that's something that I really kind of want to take a short note on. These games are kind of controversial because of what they are about. So, if you have some crazy family members that you like their opinions of you, but they are very extremely religious, they might not be exactly happy with these games. Especially if you are under the age of 18, you probably shouldn't buy this game if it is a parent that is the crazy religious member of your family. Not saying that they're horrible people or anything, again, just the fact that it isn't really. Most really, 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 really religious people do not like these games. Okay. Now that all the disclaimers are gone, games are really cool to play. And if you take out any connotation of religion to them, the gameplay is nice and solid. Okay, anything that you really want to talk about 2, or anything that you'd want to really kind of touch on the upcoming games at all?
I have nothing.
Talk about the end. We probably will come back and talk about the end of this, because it probably will have presence on Revelations, but I really don't want to do that just yet. Because I kind of want to allow you, if you wanted to stop here and you haven't played 2, and eventually pick up to the other podcasts, you can do that. I'm trying to avoid as much spoilers as possible. But if you're listening to a podcast about Revelations and Brotherhood, you should have played 2. I'm sorry. But, that really kind of wraps up. There's not much we can really say without getting too much. You spend some time in Florence and Venice, and a lot of what makes the Assassin's Creed games fun is because of all the small things. And, you can hire prostitutes to help you blend in. I don't know how prostitutes help you blend in, but they do, apparently. And you can hire thieves.
Well, think about that. I hate to interject, but think about that. If you're surrounded by a couple prostitutes, are the guards looking at you, or are they looking at the pretty women you're walking around?
Good point. You can also hire thieves to help you evade guards, because the guards will also go after the thieves. And you can hire swordsmen to help you in battle at certain points. This isn't throughout the whole game. There are certain parts where that isn't true. And like the first one, there is always a horse nearby. There is a fast travel system in this one that I don't think was present in the first one. And so you've got a nice little system of getting around from place to place. Because at this point, there is a point in the game where you have to have gotten all the codex pages that we talked about a little bit earlier in the podcast. So, fast travel system is a nice way to be able to collect those without having to walk all the way to wherever you're going. Though, it's probably still fun to go do that, because you do get gold and things you may have missed earlier on in the game. So that about wraps this up. Again, this, as far as I know, the actual settings, like how the cities look and everything, are historically accurate to the Renaissance era. Um, a fun thing that I just remembered that was not part of one but is part of two, and I think holds small. No, in Brotherhood and Revelations you get something different. But in two you do get control of a town called Monteriggioni. I'm not sure if this is a real town or anything. And but you actually get to, if you want, you can upkeep this town. It's kind of fallen into disrepair. It's Ezio's uncle's place, and you can actually, it costs a lot of money to repair stuff and rebuild, but if you actually do it, it ends up giving you a lot more money in the end. I ended up in the game having a whole crap load of money that I had no clue what I needed to do or what to do with it in general. I could have bought just about anything. I think I bought a crap load of maps and things. I had maps of every town. I had like 6 or 7 swords. And really, it is a good investment, but I wouldn't say do it too early because you kind of do need money at certain points just to repair your armor, get health potions and things like that. But that was a new little interesting addition. I don't think this kind of system actually plays into Brotherhood or Revelations. Correct me if I'm wrong, Roken. But as far as I know, there's nothing like that. But this about wraps this up, doesn't it, Roken?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Okay. But this kind of runs us into our last section, which we have done every time, and hopefully we have something more for you today, but I don't think I have anything. Our game ideas section. Roken, do you want to start us off?
I have nothing.
Okay. I don't really have anything to elaborate on what I was talking about last time. I think it was last time that I talked about my 2D game. And as for any other game I'm working on, not really, other than the fact that, and this is something brand new that only loosely, it really doesn't have to do with ideas, but it does have to do with games. CDF may become multi-platform, as in you can play it on Linux, Mac, and the Windows platform. This is not a for sure. This is a probably maybe. And I will probably say at this point the Windows version will probably be the best executed, but this is a potential. So if you have a Mac and you are looking for a good MMO, this will probably be coming sometime, I don't know when. Eventually, before the day I die, hopefully. If it doesn't, I will be very, very sad. But that's about all I have to say about this for this week, and it brings us right about to our usual time of about a half an hour. So, if there's no remaining comments...
None here.
Okay. So this is Kieran and...
Roken.
Signing off.
Have a great day.